Janet, last time we talked was 2025. There was a lot of things going on last year. What the heck happened in that crazy year?
Yeah, what didn't happen? It was quite an interesting year. There was a lot of things that we expected to happen, and some of them did, almost like on steroids, like quite crazy, and other things didn't. Everything is different in terms of the frequency. This is now the era of the heart. We should be coming from the heart, but actually doing things where they're going into the heart before they're making decisions, business decisions as well as personal, and this more collective experience.
As we just started having our group do these heart coherence meditations every day, a few of the members in one of this meditation basically said, oh, when I went into the heart, I felt sad. So many people have just closed off their heart. And so the first thing you might get when you really go into that heart energy is what you've been suppressing.
Feel them, just don't wallow in them. The moon is all about cleansing and releasing, and it's balancing out the solar energy as well. And the solar energy is a bit of a punch, 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 do, do, do. Because if you do something that is going to take someone, 45 minutes to do, and they're in quite a overwhelmed situation, it just doesn't happen. 26, I think this is one that we will look back on in the future and go, that was the year that happened. When they feel other hearts together and they feel that what the other hearts are giving is a supportive nature, if you do not want to use the word love or other, but a support to each other, they start to sing, they start to resonate together. There's a frequency and a sound that cannot be heard by the ears that the hearts give off together.
Janet, last time we talked was 2025, and there was a lot of things going on last year. So I would love to just touch on a recap of 2025 and what the heck happened in that crazy year.
Yeah, what didn't happen? First of all,
Right?
it was quite an interesting year, I think, because there was a lot of things that we expected to happen, and some of them did, and almost like on steroids, like quite crazy, and other things didn't. At the same time, though, what really I noticed and what Zach was talking about was the difference in the energy. And we've been having these sort of high frequency energy upgrades, changes in the Schumann resonance of the earth, all sorts of solar stuff, all the astrology that's been happening. And that's been going on for a long time, but it seemed to like quicken the pace. Do you remember Highlander, the quickening?
Yeah.
It seemed to like really go a bit crazy, crazy, I think, and especially near the end, like when we spoke around the equinox, that was really a really big part, the autumn equinox, and then driving into that last part where we had Three Eye Atlas. Zach says everything is different. Everything is different in terms of the frequency, and frequency manifesting into the physical takes a little while. So we are seeing it coming out. We are seeing things happening quicker. Time is definitely speeding up. Things are sort of manifesting from our thoughts and our emotions a lot quicker into the physical. And I think we're seeing that on the collective. Something I think that was really quite cool about last year, because I've been listening to Zach for a long time, and he sort of drip feeds and then he speeds it up. It's like, look out for this, and then it's like really pushing it. And you reflect and you think, oh God, that's exactly what he was talking about. And it's this whole thing of the collective really moving away. So we're still having our individual experiences, and they're really important, and not to lose ourselves, but people wanting to come together, people actually really wanting to be in. Whether it's sort of like, established sort of communities or sharing or relationships, and finding it easier to be in those places as well. And he said, this year in particular that we're going into is so much more like building on that, building on the collective. But the big thing for me was he was talking about this is now the era of the heart. Which is, of course, exactly where you're at. I love seeing that there's so many more people that are really comfortable talking about it, not in a theoretical way of we should be coming from the heart, but actually doing things where they're going into the heart before they're making decisions, business decisions as well as personal, and this more collective experience. So I think we're coming more into um, seeing the fruits of it all in this year, even though the ground's been laid for a long time, but very much in 2025. But he said this is the year of creativity. Last year was a year of creativity, but now that we've got the fire energy so much more, it's like the creativity, we're actually finally seeing it in the physical coming out. How do
Wow.
you feel? Are you feeling that sort of
That no, it
happening?
makes it makes so much sense, and Zach's always right on point. Um, the one thing that I find fascinating is Leah and I started our group to get people in touch with the heart, but
Mm,
then whenever we created videos on it, the algorithm just wouldn't. No one would watch them, so we just like kind of got lost in talking about aliens and all these other things. And it seemed like that was kind of the energy of the collective, just really interested in
mm.
information and predictions and all that stuff. But this past year, we're like, no, we're going back to just heart coherence. And that's like where we're shifting. Just every day, we open up our group on Zoom to just guide a heart coherence meditation. And it feels so amazing. I'm like, why did I get away from this, But I feel like there was some collective energy that's now shifting.
And I think this is so true because even though not all of us are academic, not all of us are people that are particularly cerebral about it all, and a lot of people are far more feeling and empathetic anyway. However, there is a safety net. Our cultures, particularly I mean, the generation I'm at, older and younger, fed with information. And what you can do is take an information and dissect it without often getting a strong emotional attachment. And I feel that that's happened for a long time. So even though Zach always says, information is king because knowledge turns to wisdom, but the full circle is that wisdom coming into your heart and
Mm.
then turning it into a feeling experience. And that's what we've been talking about as well. I think that's a really wonderful example about how it's happening without us even realizing, without us actually sitting down and saying, I want to come more from my heart. All of the things that people have been experiencing is like filtering through, and people know that actually when you come into the heart, you find the truth, your truth. Zach talks about truths are movable and and the same thing can be true in a different way for lots of different people. And he says, even in timelines, you'll get a different truth. And I used to think, what's he talking about? And it's about us feeling the information and sort of taking in information when it's right for us. So a truth of last year might be different from this year.
Mm.
So all of these things I think are feeding into it, but it's making it so much easier for us to drop into that place because it can be a scary place, I think, for some people, particularly in the beginning when you're first going into your heart. I mean, geez, years and years
Yeah.
ago when I was first talking, I was constantly popping out my body and that because actually it was a really quite uncomfortable place to be to actually go because that is it's the source point of your emotions as well. And things that you might be going, let's stick that down like a beach ball
Yeah.
underwater. You can't get away from it when you go in the heart. But that's not to put anyone off of doing it, because actually when you do that, the freedom, because you're not having to suppress everything and you can come into this beautiful space, especially something that Zach said, which I really loved when you talked about that, when he said it a number of times about this heart era and that sort of time period of the end of last year. I said this whole era of the heart, which sounds quite sweet and a bit fairy tale-y, but he said is about syncing up with hearts all over the place, which are in a similar bandwidth to yours. So very different, of course, from romantic love or conditional love. It's literally the source energy that everything is made up of, everything on the etheric, our whole electrical planet, us, we are made up of this beautiful love source. And by actually filtering in this way and actually by syncing up, it's different from syncing up your minds, that'd be a bit crazy,
Of
but
course.
syncing up your hearts, you are naturally also, it's a bit like suddenly you've got your cheerleaders, suddenly you've got your team around you, and you're doing the same. Energetically, you're supporting. And this, I believe, is making a lot of the transitions we are going through, but we're going to go through, become easier and easier and easier. Or at least let's hope so, eh? But that's what he's certainly saying is the more we can trust in our hearts and each other's hearts, not just in our own, and the more that we know that everybody is going through it, whether they consciously know it or not, the easier this dynamic, this sharing, because we're not sharing our own energy, that could be a bit tricksy, but actually sharing the frequency. And that also just, it's a bit like anything, you're being supported, you're being buoyed up, which means that everyone will naturally lighten and sort of move up the frequencies together. That's how I feel about it. And I know Zach's been saying it in lots of different ways for quite a while.
You're so spot on. And one of the things that you touched on that I want to bring up is we just started having our group do these heart coherence meditations every day. And one of the things that came up was a few of the members in one of this meditation basically said, oh, when I went into the heart, I felt sad. And it's like you're talking about, so many people have just closed off their heart. And so the first thing you might get when you really go into that heart energy is what you've been suppressing. Like you finally feel comfortable to just feel some of those feelings that don't necessarily feel that great, but it's not a bad thing at all.
Absolutely. Every feeling we have is completely natural. We are designed to have these emotions. And again, I think we've been taught a little bit subconsciously as well along the way that sometimes, and particularly sometimes I think actually in spiritual circles, certainly back in my day when I was doing a lot of training, you could be made to feel sometimes that if you have got some, particularly some of the really deep, what like aggression or, such deep sadness or powerlessness, terror, fear, these really deep, deep feelings, sometimes you could be made to feel like, well, that's not enlightened. You shouldn't feel that way. Or this idea of the more enlightened, literally in light you're becoming, the more your heart is moving up, that you never feel these. But we're having a human experience, and until we pop off this mortal coil, every single moment we're having a human experience. And each of these emotions, there is a place for them. Something Zach says, I mean, obviously, I've got a different background because I trained as a therapist in many, many different ways. And we would work with emotions, of course, but something that's so simplistic that I love that Zach says, he says, feel them, just don't wallow in them. I thought, isn't
Yeah.
that simple? It's
Yeah.
like literally give the space to
Mm.
honor what you're feeling, to allow it to even to consume you if you can. If it's something that you think this is an old friend in a way,
Mm.
I've had this for a long time and I'm always pushing it down, or I'm always going, oh, I want to be enlightened, or I want to do this, or I want to do this. Allow it to get to the point because actually, once it actually sort of moves through your energy, there's nowhere for it to go but out.
Mm.
So actually, if you don't wallow, and what he really means by that is feeding the beast, if we don't keep telling ourselves, oh no, but I do feel this, I do feel this, because the mind is incredibly clever. The body will follow what the mind says. So even with a really strong emotion, you can let it go. And it can be that old sort of thing of they say like to, that you might fall into something bad, something repeat a pattern a number of times before you get it right. So
Yeah.
you might notice yourself doing it. You might think, oh, it's so nice to be free of that. However, I should feel that guilt because of XYZ. I could feel this. And when you recognize it, rather than thinking, oh no, that's it, I'm done, you just see it as a repeating pattern. And every time you allow yourself, each time you can move that little step through. So there's lots and lots of different ways, but that is one little, almost like little tip
Yeah.
that we used to do in so many different ways in therapy. And then Zach simply said, feel it, just don't wallow in it, but know that they're all um, honor them because you're feeling them for a reason, and they may come from another life, they may come
Mm.
from earlier, they may come from last week, wherever they come from. Emotions don't do time,
Mm.
as just as your subconscious doesn't do time, so it's just as real for you now as when that emotion first sparked as well. So when people do this, or if anyone is feeling that and thinking, well, I know when I put my hand, my heart, this old feeling goes there, rather than be scared of it, almost welcome it if you can, welcome it through, because that is the way to finally release it.
Yeah. The one thing that I'm thinking of is I run this men's group, and new guys come in all the time to do heart coherence. We do heart coherence, then we share from the heart. It's pretty cool for guys to be doing. But one of the things that I notice is a lot of guys, when they come in, they almost feel like really upset because they're in the heart coherence meditations. They're like, I can't feel gratitude. I can't. And so what it makes me think is these are people that want to practice heart coherence, not all the people out there that don't even care about it. These are the
Mm.
people that are really interested in this stuff, and they are having a hard time feeling gratitude. So it makes me think, has the collective consciousness been living by the hormones of stress? Because if so, it's a massive collective leap to go from living by the hormones of stress to living by these, elevated emotions of gratitude, appreciation, bliss, joy, right? I mean, that's massive.
I mean, and it's totally unfamiliar. If
Mm,
you've been in a very stressful environment, whether you've grown up in one or you've had it in the more recent years, that your body, or should I say your energy, likes the status quo. So what you have found to work with, a bit like when you've got an injury and the rest of you sort of supports that injury,
yeah.
it doesn't want to let it go because on a deeper level, it's scared, well, a bit like that old saying, better the devil you know. If I let this go, what comes in its place? And certainly research has always shown that positive change is just as hard as changes that you don't want to happen. So you can go into something and consciously, willingly, um, will force, wanting to do something, and you might find resistance in your energetic field, in yourself, in your emotions, because there's a part within your survival part will be saying, whoa, I don't want to let this go because it could be something even worse. And it's also unfamiliar. A bit like, like when you come out of a really loud concert and it's been brilliant, but it's been so loud, and then it's so quiet that it actually hurts your ears. And I
Mm,
think it's a bit like that with the heart, that actually, when you let things go, I certainly know with clients that I work with over the years, they could feel a bit strange for a while because they're like, I don't understand. There's nothing, because they're not fighting anything, or they've not got something that's overwhelming. It was a bit like getting to know themselves as well. What is this? What is this space? And how am I going to fill it up? And of course, as you say, the best way we know to fill it up is actually with gratitude.
mm,
Love can be very different for different people, but the word gratitude and appreciation and the frequency, Zach says there's a really high frequency to those words. He has certain words. He says freedom, funny enough, is the highest frequency you can get. So even a mantra of saying freedom can actually really lift when you're feeling difficult. But gratitude and appreciation is right, right up there. So it is so much easier for ourselves to, when we let go of one, to bring through another. However, initially it can be very unfamiliar. And the stress, I mean, the stress on people, we look back on times of world wars and different things. And I know there's plenty of people going through wars at the moment, but when the whole planet was, and what they've actually found is, the stress levels, the cortisol levels, weren't anything like as high as they are now because of the different types of stress people have. And if everyone's syncing up, that is syncing up too. So the stress that you might be feeling might not even be your own, but it's what you are connecting with too. And the best way to work with that is, rather than thinking, well, what am I going to do? It's not even mine, is actually that old thing of when we work within, we help. We help the collective. When we work on ourselves, we help everything else. The more we do heart coherence, meditation, whatever it might be for ourselves, the more we let go of these emotions, the more our frequency is feeding the field with this lighter vibration. We don't all have to be saints. It's just, it's physics.
yeah.
The more that we do that, the more that we can cut through that and help that. But I absolutely agree. I think the collective stress, the collective cortisol is It's been very much in the field for a long time. And who knows, maybe this is the year that we
Yeah.
sort of tip the balance and we
Right.
change it the other way.
Yeah.
And so,
What does the increase in energy do to emotions?
mm, well, it's really interesting because emotions can actually be tracked by frequency. They
Mm,
all have a frequency. And so, it's not rocket science to find that the lowest ones are things like fear and anger. They're a very dense emotion, and we have a dense body, physical body, as a
mm,
frequency. Um, so they can get very, very locked in. It's not the only reason, but it doesn't help. However, as you move through the spectrum, the lighter ones of such things as gratitude, appreciation, joy, happiness, all of these things are so much lighter. So when the planet is moving through this huge shift in energy, and we've got all this extra sort of plasma and all the rest of it coming through from Three Eye Atlas and different
yeah.
things, and the solar flares and blah, 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 blah. We could reel off all the different things that bring the frequency up. It is naturally encouraging a higher frequency. So when we look at emotions, those are the higher frequencies. So it's almost saying to us it's easier to be in a higher emotion than in one of the lower emotions
Mm,
because this higher frequency that is all around us. It's not just when we go into meditation we get that. It's when we're out, and a very easy way to do it is just by going into nature, because nature will always be finding a balance in the frequency that's going on. And so just literally opening yourself up a little bit, and that's by intention, just opening yourself up to what you're feeling from nature in a nice nature spot, something that feels good to you, will naturally raise it. And through that, that will raise the emotions as well. So it's doing a lot of things, but especially in terms of emotions, it is encouraging those higher emotions through, but also unsettling the deeper emotions, because the more the higher vibrations coming in, the more the lower ones are. It's a bit like dredging up a lake, it's
mm,
bringing them up. So some people are saying, I had an anger issue when I was in my 20s. I've been fine for ages. I've worked on it. I've done all this therapy, and now I've got this anger again. And it's all the residual stuff, and it's held in ourselves.
yeah.
Emotions are held in ourselves as well. So the more that we can release it, the freer we are for all the wonderful experiences of the world.
Mm. Yeah, that's great. And my experience in 2025, my observation from all my friends, myself, was that there was massive trauma release. We did a lot of work as a collective in 2025.
Mhm. Mm, absolutely. You get to a point when you think, how much more is there to release?
Yeah, right, right.
And I can appreciate when sometimes people say to me, "Oh my goodness, how much more?" And we think, well, we've got to get there eventually. Um, and I think it's because there have been stages where we've been releasing our own individual stuff. And to move into this space of collective experience means you have to almost prime the collective field too,
Mm,
which means there's been so many people have been saying to me, I've been clearing all of this stuff, and I don't even think it's mine. I think it's ancestral. I think it's
mhm,
past lives. I think it's on the collective. I think it's for men or for women or whatever it might be. And people's intuitions are rarely wrong, because they say, I don't know where it's coming from, but I feel this.
mm,
So I think there has been a lot of that as well. When you're sort of looking at it as if you're looking at it on a piece of paper, it can look like, oh, it's just a constant going over, and a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, a lot of illness has come from it, sort of moving through different things coming out. However, when we take a bit of an eagle's perch and we look at what it's actually doing, it's clearing the space. It's
mm.
clearing the space, and for new things to drop in, it's got to have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And this sort of create wonderful space that it's actually creating, we get the choice of what to populate it with. We get the choice of the thoughts and the actions and ultimately the choices that we make. to bring that in, which can sound a little bit, you know, oh, today I've got to get up and make every single right choice. And life isn't like that. But if we have that in the back of our minds and we know actually everything we do, even if we're doing it just we thinking for ourselves, is actually making a difference in the field. I have always found that people on the whole are nice people. People on the whole are good, and people on the whole want to help others, even if they don't know how.
For sure.
And one of the ways of doing it is literally by helping yourself. You are
Mhm.
helping others, and energetically, it happens so quickly. It's not like making a physical action where you've got to go and help someone, which is also fantastic, of course. Please
Mm.
do. Don't stop being kind to the world. But the more kindness you give to yourself and the more that you are allowing for all of these things to happen, the more that that really resonates out and you will start to properly see it in your world, not just think it and think, oh, I hope it's happening. You will start to seeing it coming back to you very much, I believe. Certainly,
Nice.
that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. My whole life, like I kind of like will like question things that sound crazy to me, like be skeptical. And people, would always say like the full moon energies are coming, and I wouldn't feel it. Like I would just be like, whatever, those people are crazy. But like these past few years, like on those days on Lionsgate, it was like, whoa, these people are not crazy. There's real energy that's happening on these days. And it was almost like it was like I was in a dream, or I was like literally in the what people describe as the new earth. It almost felt so surreal how crazy the energies were. So I'm wondering, are we going to get to the point in the next few years where that is like more the baseline?
I think so, absolutely. I was the same, you know. I didn't really know much about the moons and all the rest of it. And now, you know, my husband and I can have a completely sleepless night and go, what is going on? And he'll open up the curtains in the morning and go, oh, full
Yeah.
moon.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, he's
Right. Right.
so
Right.
straight like, and obviously there's other things that happen. And there's a lot of support around the full moon. But this connection with our bodies and so many people I speak to, they talk about things like exactly that, their awareness of it. A good friend of mine who works for a secondary school says they always know when full moon's coming up. It goes crazy. They have all sorts of incidents that happen around it. For me, it feels like this density around us is being removed. It's back to what we were talking about the shifting of the frequency. And it's not just density in our bodies, it's density in the field, in around the earth, and these connections. So all of these things still used to affect us, but it was having to move through all of that. And if we almost wish to not be affected by it, we weren't. We have opened up so much this energetic state, this etheric state. Zach is forever talking about going back to the electromagnetic field, which, of course, with heart math and heart coherence, completely involved with that. And the shift as well with the electromagnetic field around the earth and the sort of the movement of it and where it's thinner, all of these things are making our well, consciousness as well as our physicality really be affected by far more, I believe, about things like the astrology. We're far more aware of it. People are far more interested in it, I found, than ever before, and things like the moon. But it's no, so it's living in a space so much further outside of us or our family or our home or our little hometown or country. It's this whole huge global experience. Or as Zach puts it, he always talks about our cuboid of the universe. I'm yet to nail him on exactly where this cuboid is, but
Yeah.
he
Yeah. Yeah.
talks about the physics of our cuboid and how dramatically it is changing and has changed and over our lifetime is changing. So even though it's one of those things, until it happens, it's very hard, isn't it, to imagine how it's going to look. I really feel we're moving into a future and not that far away where people will be making even like their business decisions and organizing things where they're very much taking into account almost like the movements of things going through, or the flow of energy is the best way I'm putting it, or when the best times to flow, when is the best time to push for things, to hold back, all of this. the awareness of how much everything outside of us affects us will be commonplace rather than this that people might have said, oh, well, we might think that and anecdotally, but it doesn't really happen. I think people will really know about the effects. Do you
Beautiful.
feel that? Are you seeing that
Yeah, yeah.
continuously?
And
Yeah.
that's why we are having you come join our community to basically help everybody teach people how to handle these energies coming in. So if you
Mm.
want to just touch on that, we're really excited about that. Anyone listening can join Janet on this full moon, February 1st. She's going to be teaching people how to handle these energies coming in, which is, I'm excited to learn.
So yeah, something that a lot of people who know me for channeling Zach, of course, don't know is that I've worked in energy, I'm talking all about it here as well, for a very, very long time, trained in lots of different modalities, trained with teachers all around the world. And there are so many different ways that we can help ourselves. So we can help ourselves when we want to up and increase the energy, but we can also, when it can feel overwhelming, there's many, many simplistic and quick techniques to balance or even release and move energy. And when we come together on the full moon and really making the most of that full moon energy, and the moon is all about cleansing and releasing, and it's balancing out the solar energy as well. And the solar energy is a bit of a punch, 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 do, do, do. And the moon can be very gracious. They often talk about it as the goddess, the female, sort of moving through. And so there we'll be able to go far more in depth and actually do practices together where we do it together to align to what is the ideal frequency for you, not for the next person, for you, and to sort of release and remove, but have lots of go away, go away with you. Um, I found short practices to be best
Yeah.
because if you do something that is going to take someone, 45 minutes to do, and they're in quite a overwhelmed situation, it just doesn't happen. If you've got things that you can do very quickly and easily, or even include in sort of like your daily practices, then it's so much more becomes a habit forming. I've been doing energy management every single day since I was 12. And it can be very, very little, or it can be more because of the work I do as well. And I certainly wouldn't channel without working with doing energy protocols and so forth. So there's certain things as well for different things that you want to do. So it's not just about releasing or aligning. There's really cool little ways where we can utilize it to maybe help with our manifestations, help with our making our dreams a reality, making helping our hearts, helping different parts of our bodies, using it for healing, all of these sorts of things. So I'm going to have a fun old time with everyone going into that. And utilizing that wonderful full moon energy rather than us all just trying to sleep against it and wondering why we can't sleep.
Wow. Well, yeah, I'm super excited. So, anyone listening, definitely come join us below at the link to join that full moon ceremony. So, now what is going to happen in 2026? Because that was a fantastic update on where we're at. I
Mm.
think that was very comprehensive and amazing. But what are we expected to see in 2026? I know you touched on it a little bit.
Fireworks. I
Yeah.
think we are going to see even more in our physical world of change. Something that Zach doesn't prophesize exactly, but he talks about the potentials. And every time, like when you speak to Zach shortly, he will be talking about in this moment of time. It's like he can feel exactly where the collective energy is going. What are the most likely scenarios? So, some of the things that have been said, which have been quite scary, sort of about total collapse of this and total collapse of that. He actually says that it's so unlikely to happen as complete collapses because of the suffering, the
Mm.
confusion that will come, and actually the energy we're in now. We've moved out of the way of the full-on destruction energy, which always comes before the build up. And he says we are fully into that whole experience now of not just rebuilding, but creating. It's so strong, this fire, creative energy. And so as we go into it, on an individual as well as a collective point, what we are likely to see is this manifestation, but manifestation of things that people have been dreaming in for a really long time. Inventions coming to light, particularly things that will help the world, help vulnerable people, help the ecology, help the environment. All these things that have been really strong passions and have been a little bit behind the times because they've all been in the ether and lots of people have been working on things. But it's almost as if the energy is pushing through on the physical level now as well. Whatever difficulties people have been coming up, it's almost like it just falls away and these things are starting to come. So we are expecting to see some really amazing things and things that maybe we even look at and go, wow, I did not know that that was possible that people are coming out with. I think there'll be some certain revelations to do with the earth, maybe to do with new archaeology or things that are being found underneath the sea and different things like that, that are the timing is right for it to come through. I do think we're going to have more of that collapse going on. However, listening to Zach, he's talking about the collective heart. Again, the heart, this the whole reason for the syncing up is also so that we can form our future, what our heart's desires for a long time. Zach's been talking about we are out of the time which went on for centuries, maybe even thousands of years of service, and we are in a time of heart's desire. Now, some people's heart's desire is also to be of service, that's no problem. But rather than it being purely service, it's heart's desire. So the more of our heart's desire of what we want to see in the world, all sorts of equalities, far more equality. What we're seeing at the moment and the tail end of 25, and I think we're going into the 26, is a lot more of the uncovering, the underbelly, the things that have been going on for a long time. And it feels like it's right in your face.
Mm,
However, it's only in your face because it's being uncovered right now. But the uncovering is allowing this new way of being coming through. So I'm painting it a little bit all, sort of hearts and flowers and roses, and it's all going to be wonderful. But it's more seeing, even though there will be a lot of things happening, almost like always look for the silver lining, always
mm,
look for, but what will be coming out of this?
mm.
Where can we be going? Where can I put my heart as well to what I would think? So I think 26 is going to be quite a mega one because we're finally seeing it in our physical world. It will go on in, I'm sure, into 27, 28, and so forth. But 26, I think this is one that we will look back on in the future and go, that was the year that happened. That was the year that happened. And when we look at 25, we might be shaking our heads and wincing a bit because that was the preparation for this coming out here.
Wow. Oh, that's
And
amazing. One of the things that blew my mind about this last year was some of the systems that exist, like, were way more dark than I thought.
mm,
And it almost blew my mind. And I was in this, I've been in this place of like, should I be learning about this? Because it's so dark. And the more I learn about it, the more my mind is getting dark. Like just thinking, holy moly, there's some real sick things that have went on for a long
mm,
time. So I'm curious, like with this high frequency energy that's coming in, that's just raising us up, do I need to actually worry about these systems?
mm,
Or the people are people going to be entrained? Are these dark energies just going to be entrained to a higher frequency?
mm. So I think it's personal choice because we all know where our ceiling is, our limits. I know quite a while ago for myself when I started becoming very aware of certain things, for me personally, aside from anything else, it really rocked me as you're describing. And I think for most people it does. And your mind can actually start spiraling, thinking everything's like that. However, this uncovering of it, it's a bit like taking the plaster off, it's even if we're not looking at it. So it's our choice of how much we look at anything like that. Without even looking at it, we can still help by doing all the things we've just been talking about to shift that energy. Because as it is so coming to light, it cannot stay, it cannot remain. in our world and our linear time, sometimes we can look and we think it's still going on, it's still going on. Why is this not sorted out straight away? But in the dense physical world, things take time, but they just can't exist when they've come out to the light almost. It's like the light being shined on the shadows
Right.
and it really coming to the fore. So for some people, this is why I wouldn't like to say people would or shouldn't. For some people, it's that whole thing that we mentioned at the beginning, the knowledge, wisdom, and then moves around to the heart. And for them, finding out about it is helping them to shift into an energy state which helps with the field. For others, if you're feeling quite overwhelmed and feeling it's actually affecting other areas, it's really worthwhile stepping away.
Mm.
Unless you're one of the people who are, sort of out there changing it all and actually stepping away. But actually, if you're doing it sort of from your home and understanding these things, all we need to really understand is what needs to be uncovered will be uncovered. There is no hiding. It was about five, maybe six, maybe a bit longer than that, maybe 7 years ago. I was doing a one of Zach's extravaganzas, and he had everyone put all these crystals in the ground, do all these things. We're thinking, what are we doing? And he said, it is the alignment of truth. It is time for more truth to be coming out, and we've really seen it up its game coming out through. So even though they are there, the other thing that is going on is power in the past had such an ability to corrupt. And therefore, so many of these things we're seeing a lot of the darkness in were very people in a lot of power in different industries, different or whatever it might be, but there was power behind it. Something I found really interesting, um, this month's deep dive that Zach did, or the month just got in January's, and the meditation was actually all about personal power. And that whole shift from the end of last year moving into this year, the very first thing it allowed, he said it's a new frequency of personal power, as it was always designed to be for humans, that we are at an emotional and spiritual maturity now to be able to hold that proper frequency. So a lot of what he was doing was about aligning it. Everyone will be getting it, of course. It's just how quickly it comes in. And I think that that is preparing us for the rest of it. So this isn't this overbearing and power out of force and power out of will and from a different place. Just everything we've said from the beginning. This is coming from the power from the heart
Mm.
and a really powerful heart, and actually knowing our power, allowing ourselves to be aware of this infinite source of power we have within us, not just as humans, but just as part of nature, part of the universe. We can direct that even without using our mind, just by using our heart's desires. And if our heart's desires are about, Zach uses the word betterment, betterment for ourselves, betterment for other people, and we don't do the how wise, how that's got to look, then the universe has the freedom to send it out in the way that it actually needs to be. So there is a lot of uncovering that is going on, and we can look at it as much or as little as we like, or should I say, not as we like, as we feel comfortable. But the most important thing is it is being moved through, and there's a lot of people working at these higher frequencies to move past that and put something completely different in place. And that's why I say I think this year we're going to start to really see the changing of the guard in those types of things as well. Does that resonate? Is that what other people are
Yeah,
saying as well? I think the
that's
astrology actually is really supporting that.
yeah, that's perfect. And I would love to bring in Zach
Really?
because he's my favorite entity, I guess you could say. Very
I love it. You
heart-centered.
call him your homie, isn't he? He's your
He's my bro,
homie.
yeah. So before we do it, could you just explain Zach to anybody listening?
Yeah, so higher being consciousness. I'm always banding around different words to call him because he's not a guide. He's not, he is an aspect of the Ascending Master Dwell call. But the whole beauty of Zach, and he says there's a power in just the ZAC, the Zach, um, is he wants to be your friend. So he is a really, really high vibe being. He says it's from the 26th dimension, and he he seems to know everything about everything and seems to be mates with all the archangels and God knows what. But the Zach that he comes through, the personality is a life that he lived as someone called Zachariah many, 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 hundreds of years ago. But it was a personality which just loved life, loved humans, loved nature. And so it's almost he's bringing through the wisdom, but funneling it through this sweet personality. But there is, we always say is that there's a bit of a strange accent because with the Ascended Master Dwell the Tibetan, there is more of a tilt to the Tibetan, even though the life of Zechariah was certainly somewhere in the Middle East, we think. But yeah, it's just so personable, him bringing through this wisdom of the ages, but bringing it through in this way.
Awesome.
So, shall we bring him in?
Let's do it.
Yeah, right. Let's get out of the way. Welcome, my dear. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome. How have you been?
This is always such an interesting question. Good is probably the easiest answer. We are good. Very much enjoying watching the energy of the moment and people infused with it, taking it in like it is candy, wanting it. This is a good thing. We do not want the resistance of the energy at this time. This is a time to capitalize on the energy, manifest, move it through your bodies, revel in it, enjoy it. It is potent for sure, but it is very useful. Understand? Yes.
Yes. What should we know moving into 2026?
First of all, as always, listening in on conversation. Janet touched on it. You are powerful beings. We have spoken of this for a very, very long time. However, it is very natural in your human world to forget or the world around you to make you feel that perhaps you are not as powerful as you truly are. If you could see yourself the way the universe does, not only is your body a wonderful, strong source of energy, it has the ability to direct that energy. This is where it is slightly different to a lot of the other nature upon your earth. Through your heart's desires, you can direct energy very purposefully, very powerfully. When you feel strongly, when you use your emotions in a way that is from an elevated point of view. So, not out of uh, vengeance or other such things, not that I believe any of you will be doing that. However, if you are using your energy to direct to situations, to people, and so forth that are in need, maybe of a crutch, maybe of some help, you cannot fathom the amount of energy that comes through you. This is because now that you are in this different space, this different time, now that your energy is vibrating at a different level, a higher level than it was before, you do not need to give away any of your energy, which in the past has been a possibility when doing such things. Here you are directing energy that is infinite and is a source to everybody. When you are coming from this place of love, and this is really what the whole universe is made up of, if you think of it as a substance, when you are using that, you do not have to physically love what, who, or what you are sending it to, but you are utilizing the energy of love. And you can say, I am a powerful being, and in my desire, I am sending this love energy to, and it could be to a situation, it could be to a place, it could be to a group of peoples, it could be to a group of animals. There are so many variations, we cannot even quantify them here. However, for this very pertinent question, it is not only just what you need to know, it is what you need to remember. remembering who you are becoming. And this is your original way of being, the way you are when you do not have a physical body, one that has no limits and boundaries, one that shares very happily the energy of the universe with all others, one who knows in their heart that they are infinite and the experiences they have are truly infinite. Haha, is this a good place to start, my dear? I talk much, I talk much.
Oh, I love it. That was great. 2025 had some days that were really intense in energy and felt like they were really shifting the collective. Are there any days you foresee in 2026 where we should be getting ready to transform?
There are certainly many. Uh, Now, the astrology and so forth may affect people differently. What we would say is the alignment between humans and nature makes those very traditional uh, older dates to do with the equinoxes, the solstices, and so forth become more powerful. So, easiest way you could follow the wheel of nature, and particularly in different cultures, whatever part of the world you are from, those particular dates will be very, very powerful for you. Also, the supermoons, look out for the supermoons. The moon has come so much into play, particularly over previous years, in your own development. Or it is not so much to do with the development, it's about the aligning, the after effects of the development. And therefore, all those times of supermoons and even the eclipses, where you are getting double whammy, the solar and the moon together, then you have this experience which uh, uh, generates so much energy. And of course, you can utilize that energy. You can use it to do certain things. Or if you try to ignore it, it may come out in different ways. Therefore, we would say wherever you are, look at these different points, but really look out particularly for these super moons and so forth. It is highly likely as we move through February, particularly the latter part of February, you might see a lot of commotion in your worlds. And therefore, those times, it is not so much that you have to do anything on a particular date, but really make sure that you are grounded in the energy, align yourself with the energy so that you can make decisions from a clear space, not one that is lumbered with thoughts and so forth from the past. But as we move through the year, well, there's always one after the other after the other. It all depends on how people's are moving in collective experience to where we are going. But we would say, particularly the in yes, northern hemisphere would be the summer months. Those are building into June, but particularly July, and then tailing off into August. Oh my goodness, this is a warm energy that can be very, very powerful. So almost get yourself ready at the start of the year so you can really fly during the middle part. But there is much happening before then as well, of course. But this is the best way. Another way is to actually feel into yourself, maybe on a daily basis. But if that's too much for you, maybe on a weekly basis of just saying to yourself, do I feel aligned with the energy around me? This is very good saying. Do I feel aligned with the energy around me? You can place one hand on heart, one hand on belly when you do this, because the alignment will be felt in the belly, in the solar plexus, survival, but it will be held and talking to you through your heart. So if you do this, if you get a yes, I am, you can sort of carry on, do all the things that you are doing. If you get a no, this is a good point to then just utilize a little bit of time where you are intending to align with the energy, because this means that there is less resistance when more energy or overwhelming energy, or what could be overwhelming energy, enters your system. Makes sense to you, my dear?
It does. I am curious your take on how heart energy is evolving collectively right now.
Oh my goodness. what we are seeing, what we are seeing, what we are seeing. So throughout many, 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 many years that I have been involved with humanity and watching humanity. It has been a hard push. It has been a hard slog. It's been only for the adventurous to come to this planet. One of the reasons is because of the heart. It had a ceiling, you could say, in terms of the frequency. And therefore, even the most heart centered people could not push past a certain point because the energy around did not support it. They could not live. It is a bit like, putting you into the sea under the water without any apparatus and expecting you to live. It was putting into a different frequency environment. Now, what has happened because of the energy that we've told so much of has changed. This has allowed the frequency of the heart to change to come into a place where we would almost say it is limitless. This has moved past boundaries that were there for so long. One of the reasons why the power is with you now and all of these things, and also how you can actually manifest the energy through your heart. This is another reason why it is so important at this time to think carefully about the heart, to not just take it for granted, to use it, to nurture it, to work with it, to clear the decks whenever you need, because your heart is communicating not only on a physical level through the pumping of the body and all of these things, it is communicating on the etheric level, mental, emotional, spiritual, and your soul. It is using the heart to communicate not only to all the cells of your body, but into the ether, into your what you are putting out into the world, even in just out into your thoughts. Therefore, this strength that you are getting from your heart. It has the ability to communicate, almost like, the leader that then follows, so that the cells of the body can then work with the heart. So if the heart is saying, you need to regenerate quicker, you need to bring health in quicker than before, and so forth, just as an example, it is starting to have the ability to do this. It is becoming this incredible superpower within your body, but also is being heard loud and clear in the ether, on the universe. Far easier for people to communicate through the heart with those who are not in incarnation, whether that is loved ones, whether that is spirit helpers and guides, whether this is galactic beings, whatever it is, the heart is taking on ways of being that has been redundant or laying dormant for a very long time because it is at a frequency level where it can open up like a telepathy of the head, but of the heart. You understand, yes?
I do. So our Heart Coherence Collaborative, we have, over 150,000 people that are interested in, getting into this heart space. Some of us struggle doing that on different levels. It's easier for some than others. I'm curious though, how can we use our energy as a collective? Like, do you have any recommendations for us as a group this coming year?
It is all about support. Being able to help the others when they cannot help themselves. And the reason why we say this in particular, people think, well, we've always done that, is it is becoming so much easier. Due to this connection between people's hearts, they can lean literally with their hearts on each other. Therefore, the speed for the coherence is very likely you'll see to increase. How quickly people can come into coherence, how quickly very are stuck, stagnant, seemingly emotions and other can be moved through. So therefore, as collective, as people come together, ideally as well in real time, that they can come together, if they can relax into the knowledge that they are helping others, but also to open themselves up to receiving the help, Resistance is the biggest key thing, always has been with humanity. Whether it is a resistance from, the noodle from the conscious, or whether it has been resistance in the subconscious or in the physical, or often in the energetic. And there can be resistance that people do not even realize because they may feel, well, if I take help, then I owe someone, and this is not a good thing. This is often culturally, been taught to people. However, if you simply open up your heart and say, I receive as I give, then there is a wonderful balance that comes through. So, therefore, this coming together, this being together is so supportive. And of course, all of these things can be done quietly, alone. However, the joy of coming together may feel a surge as well, a peak happening in the heart during this. So even in the coherence, there may be some times where there feels a little bit of peak happening, a little bit almost similar to excitement or even ecstasy feelings. And this is a joy of the hearts, just how people can shout out to joy together. Hearts do the same thing. When they feel other hearts together and they feel that what the other hearts are giving is a supportive nature, if you do not want to use the word love or other, but a support to each other, they start to sing, they start to resonate together. There is a frequency and a sound that cannot be heard by the ears that the hearts give off together, and there is an uptick. Like a crescendo, and would not be surprised if you see it like a tsunami wave that moves through people, or even like a Mexican wave that moves backwards and forwards. And this can be a time allowed for this to happen as well, because this is also a joyful experience until everything settles down again into a wonderful equilibrium. Understand, yes?
Yes, I do understand. And Zach, you have been such a good friend of mine and you've given me some amazing advice in the past. I'm curious as you tune into my energy, is there any new advice you have for me?
Mhm. The changes that you made since we last spoke, they are now bearing fruit. And this is the thing. There are some changes and so forth that took a little bit of agonizing over in the head, in the heart, and so forth, shifts and changes in directions and so forth. And through this, now what you're starting to do is relax into it. Start to see, actually, I can really, really see the gain in this. I haven't lost anything. All I have done is gain. And you have shifted yourself into a slightly different frequency. I say different rather than higher because people can often think it sounds a bit strange. Oh, this is higher, this is lower. But it is shifting into almost a parallel reality, one where you have shifted a little bit of your timeline into one that is far more supportive of what your values really are, of what your heart's desires really are. Does this resonate with you, my dear?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I'm curious. Do you have any final message for our group? Janet's going to be leading a full moon ceremony coming up. You know, we have this whole new year ahead. Just curious if you have any final advice for us or any message you want to share.
Be the person who you see in your dreams. Now, that sounds a little bit strange. We're not talking about the dreams that you have at night. We are talking about the daydreams you have. When your mind goes off, when you are, making yourself a drink, or you're at work and you're not so interested in what you're doing, or you're waiting to pick up your child from school. These daydreams, see yourself how the universe sees you. This is how your soul sees you in these daydreams. Allow yourself to become it. The only thing that is holding you back is yourself. Now, that is not to say, oh, you're doing anything wrong. Simply, we see the magnificence that resides within humanity now. You have been given all the tools. You are in a completely different era, even if it may not look that different in your world. It would be too confusing if everyone's world suddenly looked very different. That was never the point of the shifts and changes. How would anything function? How would you, get your food, be able to get your supplies if everyone woke up one day when everything is so different, everything would stop. So everything does look the same on the surface, but deep down that things are different and they are continuing to change, the more that we are encouraged by people really, really seeing the reality of themselves and who they truly are. Not about achievements, this is, even though this might come into part of it, but who you are as a person. You know, your kindness, your grace, your love, and how you interact with the world around you. This is really, this will support all the changes this year and going forward. We would love nothing else for you but to see yourself as we see you. Understand? Yes, my dears.
Yes. Thank you so much, Zach. I love you.
Pleasure, 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 my dear. I shall bring Janet back now and look forward to talking to you, to the whole community, and so forth again and again and again. Haha, whenever you wish. Goodbye, my dear. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Oof.
Oh,
Wow. Zach is always so spot on and amazing. That was great.
sorry, excuse me. He was just like fire.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
is so hot today. It's not normally, but I think it's to do with this energy at the moment and this new fire energy that's coming through. And he gets so excited, and
Yeah.
obviously he's coming through me, and it moves through the nervous system. And I was just sitting here thinking, oh my God, I think I might actually just go pop.
Oh,
It's
and
so hot.
he's also hilarious, which is my favorite part.
I know his little expressions and the things that he says, he does make me laugh. He makes me laugh so much, bless him.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming on and just being like just such a heart-centered person and being an advocate for heart coherence. It's been really cool just to get to know you. There's not too many people in this realm that are really so heart focused, so I get so excited when, I have somebody like that to connect with.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm so excited to be doing the full moon ceremony as
Yeah.
well. And it's really nice to be able to share all this sort of energy work and things that I know will really, really help people as well. So I'm really, really excited about that. And of course, we've always got Zach in the background and everything that he does that supports too, and all his meditations and everything else. So all good, all good. There's a lot of help for all of us, which I'm really pleased about.
Awesome. So anyone listening, click the link below to come join us for the full moon ceremony. It's going to be amazing. And how else can we support you, Janet, as well as Zach?
Well, the main thing really is we have this site on Patreon called
Mhm.
Zach's Portal. We also have a little YouTube channel called Zach's Portal. We have free Zach chats once a month. They're completely free, but do come to Patreon and join us there. And really, the deep dives, he does really goes deep, Cosmic Classroom every month. And something we absolutely love is his meditations. We've just been talking about it
Yes.
really there. Things that help us align month by month, really deep. They're really energy encoded. They're purely directly from Zach. And yeah, we all love them. We all love
Yeah,
them.
they are
So
the best meditations. They really are. They're so good. And one of the things I was going to say, like I forgot about this, but when he channels, it transmutes and I go into like a deep meditative state where like when I come out, it's almost hard for me to like speak again because I feel like I just got out of like a huge meditation. So I'm sure you hear that a lot.
it's this transmission.
Yeah.
So, and it's not just in person, it projects, of course, through the screen. And it's a real heart, and it is a heart transmission. What a lot of people don't know is I changed the way that I channeled because of being sick for a number of years and so forth, and really, really aware of the nervous system. And the way he chose, and so that it's really safe for me, is in a heart transmission. So
Yeah.
when Zach comes in, he actually moves into my heart and then he transmits. So he moves through so that we recognize him and how he comes
Feel
through.
it.
And he does
Yeah.
embody me, but he actually pushes out. So there are his words. But even if someone wasn't listening to their words and just sat back, and just opened up. It's a complete transmission. And this is incredibly powerful. I mean, people say, I cannot stay awake in there's certain meditations that I've channeled from him, and I still don't know exactly what he says because I cannot stay awake. It just goes bang. It's just so overwhelming in a wonderful way of what's actually happening. But certainly, as to say, every single channeling from him, there's this deep heart transmission, which is there to support, however it is received. It is there to support every single person.
I love that. Yeah, I felt like I was being hypnotized, like that feeling when somebody's doing hypnosis on you and you drop in deep. That's what happens to me every time he channels. So I'm like, stay awake, Kyle. You got questions to ask.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky to sort of listen and be thinking because
Yeah,
it's like a vroom coming
yeah.
in.
Well, everybody join the Patreon. You'll get some amazing meditations and come join us for the full moon ceremony. Thank you so much, Janet, and thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.